Or I could clip it to my boot.
Be kind of a long cord.
But thank you for coming to our first event with the Vegan Working Moms committee or subgroup of the Women at Thomson Reuters network within the company. We're pleased today to have with us two women who have written this book, Hot Sweaty Mamas, and it's the 5 Secrets to Life as a Fit Mom. So we thought this would be a fun topic to kick off the year. I'm sure many of us, myself included, have resolutions to try to be a little healthier this year. So we have some experts with us, Lori Kosanda and Kara Tom will be talking today about their book. We also have 5 books that we've purchased and we'll hand out. We'll hand out 4 of those books here today. We'll do a random drawing to pick 4 names for our audience today to send home a book with 4 of you, and then we'll give the 5th one out as a random drawing through our blog. So I know there were a number of people who were interested in the event but just weren't able to make it today, so we'll be able to extend the participation that way as well. So with that, I'll kick it over to our presenters and have fun. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear us through this? Okay. Not used to the eye testing. All right, we're pretty informal, so if you guys have any questions or you want to interrupt us with anything, just raise your hand or blurt.
Because we will interrupt each other.
Yeah, we will. So I'm Lori Kosanda. And Kara Tom. And like she said, we're here to talk about our book, Hot Sweaty Mama's 5 Secrets to Life as a Fit Mom. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of fitness books out there, or even health magazines where you see on the cover it's like 5 days to the perfect abs, or 20 minutes a day, you know, all those absurd things that you read. This is not what you're going to get in our book and in the content that we're going to talk about today.
It's certainly not a how to get your body back after baby book either. There's plenty of those out there, but we know better.
Yeah. And the other thing too is it's not a book that really advocates any particular type of exercise, which is somewhat ironic because the way that we got started working on this book is that we were doing a presentation for the Twin Cities Marathon, and they wanted to have some people come in and talk about running through your pregnancy and what that was like, and if you were a runner and you couldn't run, which was Kara's case, how you dealt with that. And as we sat down and we put our presentation together, we realized, you know what, I mean, it's great. It's great if you work out when you're pregnant, but really in the long run, who cares? I mean, it's really not, it's not the hard part. The hard part is what do you do after you have these little people who are relying on you and you have this busy schedule? What do you do then to fit fitness in?
And I think Lori was the one that said a uterus accommodates a baby better than a gym bag. And it's really...
Yeah, and my uterus, so I actually worked here at Thomson Reuters for 11 years. I worked here from 1993 until 2005 after the birth of my 2nd daughter. So I started here right out of grad school and kind of made that transition in life from able to work out whenever I wanted to, oh, suddenly that didn't happen. And so I accommodated my baby and my uterus over at the YMCA across the street. And it wasn't as hard, but once she came out, that's when it got difficult. And so I'm just going to see if I can work this technology here. There we go. So this is just sort of an idea. I'm guessing maybe a lot of you can identify with a day like this. You get up early in the morning, you take care of other people, feed them, get them ready. And if your kids are older, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, you can have a baby, and you can have a teenager, and they're probably having some sort of teenage angst and upset about something, their hair is not right, whatever it is. So you're dealing with all that stuff in the morning, you get everybody where they need to go, you're busy all day, all the way up until sprinting out the door at 5 o'clock to go pick up somebody, to make dinner, to get people ready for bed, or to take them to swimming or soccer or wherever. Who the heck has time, really, to fit fitness in? I mean, it's very, very difficult. So, you know, when we're speaking about this, we're not just people who have never been there. We've worked through these challenges, and we know that it can be done. And a big part of what we're going to talk about today is it's really a lot more mental work. It's probably 90% mental work, training yourself to believe that you are important enough and that your health and fitness are important
we have an exercise in the back of the book that can help get you through this. But once you know what your values are, then you can then decide what your priorities are going to be. And once you have a clear idea of what your priorities are, then you know how to spend your time.
Okay, I'm going to do the interrupting thing. Right,
Go ahead.
But so, and priorities are where you spend your time, right? So if you have values and you don't act on them, I mean, it's possible to have a value and not make it a priority. So doing
Right.
that exercise and figuring out.
All of you would probably value health. We all do, but whether we choose to act on it is just, of course, a separate issue altogether. So we talk about protecting our priorities as ruthlessly as our own children, and that, of course, means saying yes to the right things and saying no to the right things, and of course, just being able to say no, because that is so hard for us to do. But one thing we've noticed is that, and maybe you've noticed this too, we're all busy, but when you're busy doing things that line up with your priorities, being busy feels good. It feels right. And so that's part of this exercise that we kind of take moms through in this book. The other thing about when you're aligning yourself with your priorities in terms of how you're spending your time, you can't let the mommy guilt get in the way. It might, of course, rear its ugly head, but if you're spending your time in the ways that you know are your priorities and line up with your values, then you know it's okay. You have to be okay with that. And it certainly is that way for fitness. If you're taking your kids to the child center to work out, or if you're taking some time out of your day to work out and you feel badly about that, know that not only are you doing something good for yourself, but ultimately you're doing something good for your children, because you're establishing fitness not only as a value for yourself, but as a family value. And kids that have parents that exercise are more likely to grow up exercising themselves. And of course, I don't even need to go into what's going on with our children today and the childhood obesity epidemic, but just being active yourself sets the stage for them to be more active. And the other thing that does for our kids, the hardest thing about being active and starting a fitness program is just that. It's starting a fitness program. So if you grow up in a family where activity is just part of the routine, then those kids never have to start an exercise program. They'll grow up being active and fit, and that's a really important thing to hold in your heart when you're feeling badly about taking some me time, because it's a gift for them. The other thing about fitness is don't do anything you don't like doing. There is no reason for it. Absolutely no reason. There is so much out there and so many new things and so many ways to be active and fit that if you're stopped going out the door because you don't like to run, or you don't like the elliptical, or you don't like a certain fitness class, then you need to go find something else.
Yeah, have any of you tried Zumba yet? Okay, that's so fun.
Belly dancing? Are there any belly dancers out here? Hula hoop is a new
There's
thing.
pole dancing classes. There's all sorts of really fun stuff that you can do, and it counts as fitness.
And even when you have things that you love to do, it's still important to keep trying, keep looking. I got a pair of snowshoes last year for my birthday, and believe me, I had plenty of things I love to do. In fact, my problem is that I feel like I have fitness ADD, and I can't, just stick with one thing. And then I got these snowshoes, and now it's my next, my favorite thing, and I'm so excited that there's snow coming down. So, and we'll get into this a little bit later. This discovery is going to be important too as you're raising your kids, because it's going to help them find things to do that's their fitness passion.
And I'm going to add one thing too, and we talk a lot about this in the book too, and I think we have preconceptions about fitness that we're just not going to like something because it's uncomfortable.
Or we're concerned about the way we look to other people,
Right,
or I'll start going to the gym when I lose 10 pounds.
And those preconceptions also apply to parenting. So we have them about fitness and about, oh, that's going to hurt, I'll look silly. But then we also have them just about, my kids will never watch television, or my kids will never say never.
And then you have kids.
Yeah, you have kids, and then you're like, well, 15 minutes of, I don't know, Sesame Street is just fine if I can actually get dinner made.
passage from the book that under that heading, protect your priorities as ruthlessly as your children, where we start out, this is more than time management, because if you don't know what you want to be, then you don't know how to spend your time. Once you are clear about your priorities, it's easier to make decisions, say yes, say no, in order to spend your precious time honoring that person, those ideals, those goals, those dreams. It all sounds good in theory, do what is most important to you, but there's this ugly little demon called mother guilt that some of us carry around like an ankle weight on our hearts. It can drag us down even when we know we're doing what is right for our families and ourselves. Your child screaming as you drop him off at the gym's daycare so that you can attend to another one of your priorities is such an example. You feel that temptation to snatch him back, drive him home, and hold him tightly until he graduates from college. But don't be silly. Mother guilt truly has no place in your life if you've established your priorities correctly. And like those of us with multiple children know, you can have more than one priority in your life, just as you can love and nurture more than one child. What's a little sibling rivalry? So that's something that going through that exercise is important for, so that you're clear about your time. But it also helps you set goals. And just like anything else that you're aspiring to do, setting a goal, setting something that's manageable, is important to kind of not just motivate you, but to just carry you through and to get you there. A goal in the absence of a workout partner, which we think is also very important, and we'll get to later, but in the absence of a workout partner, a goal is your workout partner. The goal is the thing that's going to get you up early in the morning, or just help you get to that next step. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a marathon. It doesn't have to be a 3-day bike ride. It doesn't have to be something that you feel is going to change your life. It can be one push-up on straight legs. It can be one pull-up. It can be anything little. In fact, a bunch of little goals are probably more important than one big one, because as the moment that you accomplish a goal, it's like fuel. It motivates you, it gets you excited, it keeps you going. And so we'd say that those little ones are most important. And they can also just be something as simple as, we talk about triaging your day to fit fitness in, and it can be something as little as, I am going to work out for 10 minutes today. I have no idea how that's going to happen. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but I am not going to bed until I get 10 minutes of activity done. And so
sometimes it's even just like dressing the part, right? It's, you get up in the morning, I've done this before, you get up in the morning and I say, I'm going to put my running clothes on, and I'm going to keep them on until I run, and then I go to bed and I still have my running clothes on and I haven't gotten a run in. I mean, that happens, but you've made those little things that you can do, those small goals to get you to those big goals. Or if you get out the door, you say, I'm just going to run a block, and if I don't feel good, yeah, that's all I'm going to do. And usually you get out there and you'll keep moving.
Yeah, but then if you don't, then you really must feel pretty crappy to have gone through all that trouble.
Yeah.
So
and one last thing on this secret too is that sometimes it takes actually just maybe sounds demotivating, but sometimes it takes lowering your expectations. Because I think we live in a society now where everything has to be big, and everything has to be first rate and new, and you don't have to run a marathon, you don't have to train for a 5K, you don't have to do that. I mean, if your small goals are just to get myself out and walk, part of it's mental. Part of it is just that, we did a survey for our book. We surveyed over 200 women, and the number one reason that people work out was for stress relief. So if it's just for that, just getting out.
And it counts. And what Lori is saying, I learned firsthand. I had twins first, and then, whoops, one more. And I had a double jogging stroller, which of course became useless once I had the third. So I went from being a runner and someone who had run marathons. So in my head, what counted as a workout was that hard, sweaty stuff, that aerobic activity, that endurance type of workout. And so I always thought it had to be an hour or something hard for it to count. And I went from that to, I've got pushed, 2 kids in the stroller and 1 kid here, and then the dog on a leash, and I'm walking to the park. And I realized, gosh, that's still more than 90% of the population is doing. This counts, darn it, this counts. And you have to let yourself let it count.
All right, I think that's good. Is that covered?
Yeah.
Cover secret number 1. Okay. Anybody, again, if you have questions, we can take them at the end too, but if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw them out. So secret number 2, there are no good excuses.
And we're done being nice.
Yeah. that was the soft talk. Now comes the hard stuff. So there are no good excuses. So what this really, we're not saying there are no excuses. I mean, there's plenty of excuses out there, right? Not to work out, not to be fit, not to live healthy. But the majority of them, if they're an excuse, they're not good, right? So you have to differentiate which are the things that are excuses and which are the reasons, because there are lots and lots of valid reasons not to exercise. Maybe you have something you have to get done at work. Your career depends on it. Maybe you have a sick child. I mean, those are really good reasons not to work out. And the way that you know that they're reasons is that a reason is something that moves you. Kara talked about those values at the beginning. A reason will bring you toward a value. So if I choose not to work out because my child is sick, well, my value of taking care of my children is a pretty darn good value. I mean, that's a great reason. It's not an excuse. But if it's something like, well, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm pretty busy, you're not really moving yourself to, there's not a specific value that you're moving yourself toward that you can identify. Bing, it's probably an excuse.
I'll read how we define the two here. Reasons are succinct, excuses take explaining. Reasons don't leave room for second guessing, excuses do. Reasons are truth, excuses are half-truths at best. Reasons don't crumble on examination, excuses do. Reasons are not driven by fear, excuses are. Reasons allow us to reach our potential, excuses help us cheat. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys? I mean, it sounds familiar to me. I'm not being accusatory. We all do it. Whenever you're on the phone, if you're supposed to have met somebody or you're talking to a friend about why you can't go, if you feel like you're trying to explain it to yourself as much as you're trying to explain it to your friend, chances are it's an excuse.
Yeah. So one of the biggest excuses that we hear is, well, there's two of them really. One of them is I don't have enough time, and we'll talk a little bit about some ways to get around that. The other one is that we heard the most often when we did the work with our interviews, and we have one little thing to add to in our book. We have a lot of fun little anecdotes that women have said about what they've done and the challenges that they faced. It's kind of sassy, so you have to have a little bit of sense of humor. But what was I talking about? Oh, time.
Well, yeah, time, but you were going to talk about family. The excuse. I know.
Oh, yeah. She knows. We've done this enough. So the number one excuse, though, is that I put my family first. I mean, we all say that all the time, right? Well, my family comes first. Well, guess what? One of the most important people in your family is you. And if you're not taking care of yourself, and if you don't identify yourself as somebody who's important and worthy of being cared for, that sends a message to your children, and it also is going to affect your happiness and ultimately. So if you can't do all this because you see your own worth, and you are all very, very worth every moment that you spend exercising or whatever it is that you do to stay fit, every one of you. If you can't do it for that, and if you can't buy into that, your kids, do it for your kids, because you want your kids to see how important their mom is. You want them to grow up. I have a mom who, she never worked out. She's in her mid-70s and she's very frail. And if we could back up time and my mom could have been home after school making me brownies, which I loved, or said, I'm just going to go for a quick run or I'm going to go for a quick walk. And if I could flash forward and know that would mean when my mom was 75 years old that she wouldn't be frail, I'd pick that. I would. And so I think we need to think about that when we're thinking about that excuse of putting your family first. The other one is time, and time is hard. It's hard for all of us. So we can't give you an extra hour in the day, but we can give you 4 ways that you can consider to put extra time, sort of feel like you're putting extra time into your day. One of those is making time, and that is, did anybody here get up before they came into work today to get in a workout? There we go. You do good. That's awesome. So you are the people who are making time. I mean, you're really not making time, right? Ultimately, if you do that every day, you're going to end up very, very tired. So you need to take care of yourself. But you're making time when no one notices that you're gone. when everyone is sleeping.
You're sacrificing something. Maybe if you're working out in your lunch hour, that's another way of making time, because you're doing it when no one else is expecting anything of you. You might not be sacrificing sleep like the early risers do, but you might be sacrificing your lunch.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Or time out with some of your coworkers. Make time. The second time way is to take time, and that would be get a babysitter, go to the gym and put your kids in childcare, have grandma and grandpa come over.
Taking time away.
Yeah. So you're saying, and it's actually really a good thing, and I want to make sure you guys, at least go away knowing that none of these is better than the other. They're all really good because your kids see you valuing yourself. So you take time. So we have make time, take time, and then we have share time. And that's where you go for a run with your kids in the jog stroller. Maybe your kids are old enough they go for a run with you. Play basketball out in the driveway. What are some other good ones? Push-up trouble. These are Kara's kids, and they play push-up or trouble when they hit the button. That's how many push-ups they do. Before.
Honest to goodness, I had nothing to do with that. They came up with that all on their own. So that's an example of, believe me, I was pleased. But I don't want you to think that I make my kids do push-ups. That's why she grabbed the camera. I was like, I can use this. But yeah, that sort of thing. You can turn board games into fun. Go out for a hike. Share that time, and sharing time is something. When we started writing this book, when we started on this project, we were really just after me time. We were after that.
It was all about us. We really.
But we realized that if we're going to get the amount of fitness in that we want, we're not going to be able to do it with just unless you're a professional athlete or you can have a full-time nanny or something. It's not going to be possible. And so we kind of looked at that share time as the plan B option, which it can be, but it's also important to try to make opportunities to share time. That those are just as important for them because they want to be part of your fitness too, and have their own fitness.
Yeah, and you want them to be there too. I mean, it is really fun, and like Kara said, they do stuff like that. It's really rewarding. It's exciting. You're like, oh, yeah.
I'm doing this right. I'm doing something right.
And I think none of us, I bet everyone in this room has taken a kid to, some practice, soccer, whatever it is, and you sit on the sidelines. So those are opportunities rather than sitting on the sidelines and watching. It's kind of funny. You start doing it, and people look at you like you're really weird, and then ultimately they kind of start joining along. Like, my kids will swim, and I'll swim while they're taking lessons. I'll swim sometimes while they're doing that, using that time. Or when they do soccer practice, I was talking to her on the phone we did a presentation at a school on Wednesday, and we were talking about it, and I said something to Kara about, well, you don't have to always sit and watch your kids at practice. You can go for a run, and my daughter yells, "You never watch me practice." We always watch our games, and sometimes we watch practices, but it sends that message that everybody is worth it, and of course you do want to watch sometimes, but we'll finish. So we have share time, and then the last one is snare time. Those are just little tricks where you sort of sneak in a workout. We have a pull-up bar in our kitchen, and every time I walk through, I just do 5 pull-ups really quick. I've got really good at pull-ups, and I'm not taking time away from anybody. I just quick do them. My kids do it now sometimes too, but there's parking at the far end of the parking lot, not taking the shuttle in to work,
the bath. If your kids are young and you need to hang out there at the bathtub, which is sort of you need to be there, but I can't sit still. So doing some push-ups on the side of the tub, or just doing a little round robin of some sit-ups and some push-ups and some calf raises. That way you can be there, but you can also get a little something in yourself.
And if that sounds awful, because I really like strength training, you can stretch too. You can do some yoga. It's a little more relaxing. Or when you guys have your lunch meetings, if it's not a big, huge meeting, you can maybe not today, but you can take them outside. Go for a walk on the path. You can walk up in the stairs here. People may look at you like you're a little silly, but you don't have to get to the point where you need to take a shower. And I don't know if you guys are all familiar with this, but there's a wonderful thing called dry shampoo now, and you can get a little sweaty, dry your hair in this dry shampoo. It makes it smell good, takes all the oil out of your hair. So there's lots of little things that you make it reasonable and not have to devote an entire hour.
But the point is that it all adds up. It doesn't have to be an hour of strenuous exercise. It can be little deposits made throughout the day, throughout the week. And to go back to that point about being fit for your children, you want to be that mom that can get out there and play with them. You want to be that mom that can go sledding with them.
Or the woman, the grandma that water skis. Her mom water skis.
My mom was that mom who was active. She was a really great role model for me. And she's 65, and she was out water skiing last summer with the kids. And, you know, I loved that because I just love that she's such an active part of their life, literally an active part of their life. And I want to be that kind of grandma, too. So that motivates me to keep going with us.
So we get kind of windy. But, so it is not all or nothing. You don't have to do everything all at one time. You don't have to run the marathon. You don't have to do the 3-day, you know, whatever it is that you can do. And another thing with that, I'll just finish the secret with this, is that if you keep doing a small thing each day, even if it's a tiny little thing, it will keep that momentum alive. So then, you know, if I don't work out today, tomorrow I'll think, well, I took yesterday off. I'm just going to wait. I'll start again on Monday. But if every day you do something little, even if it's stretching or calf raises and pull-ups, whatever it is,
it's not that slippery slope. You don't, because that we see that a lot. That you missed one workout, and one workout turns into a year.
Yeah, and it goes by fast. We all know. So, okay, let's skip that. Stress-inducing versus stress-reducing. It's basically.
Well, just we have something we call the sweaty decision tree because, you know, we're all faced with that, and we're still faced with that question. Sometimes we have those days: should I work out or not? And so. Yeah.
It's in the back of the book. So it's like a troubleshooting guide where you can go through and be like, okay, I didn't work out yesterday, but I'm going to work out tomorrow.
Or all kinds of different scenarios.
Yeah.
But one of the leading factors in this decision tree is, will exercise be stress-inducing or stress-reducing? And sometimes we are so busy that really adding one more thing, even 10 minutes, is not going to happen. It's just...
It's going to make everything worse.
Yes. We've been there. But sometimes you can be, and on another day, because this is not, you know, it can be different for you day in, day out. On another day, you might be just as busy, but if you don't get 10 minutes to go blow off some steam and move your body, then it will make it worse. It will be more stress-causing if you don't get the workout in. So that's one thing to use as you're trying to make that decision.
Okay, we'll move on.
Secret number 3, in this secret, we talk about being as good to your body as you are to your children. And this is just something that's hard to grasp because we're just so focused on caretaking, and you might be caretaking beyond your own kids. You might be caring for parents now. So you really kind of feel sandwiched in between, you know, all these people that need you. But you know, again, it's so important. This is something you know. We know you know. We're just here to remind you in that secret because there's just lots of little ways that you can help yourself out. We go into nutrition, you know, a little bit. There's tons out there on nutrition, but you know, really think of fueling your body, avoiding the things that you know are bad.
Not sustaining on like the crusts. I don't know if anyone else does this. Like I make sandwiches for my kids on the weekends, and I'm just like, well, I'll eat whatever's left on their plates. I mean, that's terrible, but you know, we do that, and you're worth more than that. I'm worth more than that.
And or even sitting down for a meal. I do this at night. I'm preparing the meal. I'm getting everybody fed, and I'm standing there. I'm standing as I eat because someone's going to ask me for something as soon as I sit down. So why bother sitting down? But it just goes back to taking care of yourself. You deserve to sit down and eat your meal, and they can get whatever they want, themselves, or you can get it after you've done. So little tricks like that, and sleep too is another one. We are not going to tell you to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. We know that's probably a long shot, but there are ways to rejuvenate. There are ways, to just catch a little bit of rest when you can. Whether that's, if you can score a little nap, which
I thought you were going to say if you can score,
because that is one of our
rejuvenation things too.
You might know more of these people better than I do. I wasn't going to do that, but even a you miss your favorite group fitness class, don't think that it's shot for the day. Go home and stretch. Just do something else. Do something else that's good for your body.
And I teach fitness classes, and I would say 95% of the people that take classes don't stretch nearly as much as they should. And that to me, if there's anything that you can do, like add in on a day when you feel like I can't do this, it's stretching.
And that's a good share time tactic, because you can, play on the floor with your kids if need be and stretch too. It's all about really getting creative. You got to get creative.
Do you stretch when you're cold? Do you stretch when you're cold? Usually they say, warm up a little bit, but usually if you're going to work out, you want to do your main stretching at the end of it. But you can still work your flexibility without getting, a really hard workout in. So you can go for a little walk and then stretch. And I believe you can stretch at any point. I mean, it feels good, right? So if it feels good for that reason alone, you're not going to hurt yourself. You don't want to be ballistic where you start bouncing to stretch more, that kind of a thing. But even just using your breath and deepening your sitting up taller and using your breath and then bending over and getting a little deeper into a stretch. So yeah, you can. I mean, you won't probably be able to get as deep of a stretch if your muscles aren't more. Never force them. Secret number 4. People can sabotage your fitness faster than a cookie binge. We've all been there, right? And what this secret is really about is relationships. And that's relationships with your family, relationships with your coworkers, relationships with your friends, your neighbors, I mean, everybody. And we have those people in our lives that do it or get it, and those people who don't. We like to call the people that don't, they can, not always, but they tend to be those emotional vampires. Those people where you're kind of on that roll, you're doing really well, and they walk into your queue with a donut or something, right? They know you're trying really hard to eat well, and they kind of like, hey, here, custard-filled chocolate-covered donut, right? So the point that we like to make here is that you need to surround yourself with people who support you. So we don't all have that, and Karen and I are really lucky. We have spouses that are very supportive of our fitness, and I know that not all of you have that. I mean, we've met some women from all around the country who just do things you wouldn't believe to get their fitness in because their spouses don't want them working out. Not that they don't even want them to spend the time, they just don't even want them working out. And so really trying, you can't get rid of those people, right? You can't just say, well, you're fired, or you can't tell your parents if they have negative things to say about you spending time doing something for yourself. You can't get rid of them. So what you need to do is really, she's queuing up a read.
I am. I'm gonna read Connie's. We met Connie at a.
Oh, this was the woman I was referring to. Actually.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read it because this is about as low as it gets. She says, "My husband has tried about everything to make me want to give up running. Arguments, not speaking to me, purposely planning stuff when he knows I've made arrangements already, jokes that I never win, the cost of it. So I feel I have to hide it from him, like an affair. I get up early or I wait till he leaves. I sometimes lie about it and I feel bad, but I try to keep the peace. I also feel bad that I'm not setting a very good example to my kids. I don't want them to think it's normal to do that in a relationship. I tell them that they need to find someone who loves and supports them wholly."
So, really thinking about that, like who are those people that you can depend on? Hopefully none of you have something like this going on. If you do, I mean, there's obviously other things going on there as well, but finding those relationships, finding those people. And one of the big relationships that we talk about in the book is, we call them the sweaty sisters, right? So the women that you know, and for some reason it's different, relationships become deeper, they become closer, and you will talk about things you never dreamed you'd talk about when you start sweating, working out with another woman. I'm going to read, she just read, but I'm going to read one more little thing here. It's called Inspiration in the Perspiration. Working out with another woman, particularly another mom, will do wonders for your motivation. If you're struggling to get out the door because you're a mom with 2 kids, a needy mutt, and a pet salamander, it becomes more difficult to offer up excuses for missing your workout when your workout partner has 4 kids, one with special needs, an ailing mother, and a husband who travels during the week. Sometimes just knowing the effort it takes someone else to squeeze in a workout will inspire you to do the same and validate your dedication to getting or staying in shape. The more you get to know other fit moms, the more you'll realize you're not alone. You'll hear stories about kids who wouldn't go to bed the night before, yet their mom still gets up early to get in her morning workout. About babysitters who cancel at the last minute, so mom pushes the jogger instead. And about spouses who complain about being on kid duty while mom runs. small battles waged against you in your quest for fitness are fairly common. You don't need to take comfort in others' struggles, but a little empathy and awe work both ways. Share combat stories and strategies with the right women, and you'll find the motivation and support to succeed more often. So, find those people here at work. I mean, you guys spend so much time, a big portion of your day here, or wherever else you spend a lot of your time. Find women that you can rely on if it's just going for a walk, or commit. Decide that you're going to help each other out and you're going to ask each other. And maybe you don't have someone else that can actually do it with you, but maybe you can ask them, would you do me a favor on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just ask me if I did whatever it is that you've committed to doing. It'll help hold you accountable. It'll make you feel like somebody really cares and you feel supported.
And finding those sweaty sisters, like Lori said, work is a good place. But look around you at the women that have similar schedules, because that makes it easier to schedule those workouts. It may not be at work. Maybe, for me, it was the women I was carpooling with. I didn't even realize that I would end up with workout partners, but I did from my two carpool partners. And neighbors, too. Sometimes just having that person 2 doors down who will meet you at 5:30 in the morning makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and one thing, I have a friend that I run with in the morning, and we have vowed that once we commit, we turn off our cell phones, because it's really easy if you get up at 5 in the morning to just be like, your little text, you know what, kids were up late, I'm not coming. But we turn off our phones, so you have no way of telling the other person that you're not going to make it, and you'll keep yourself, to that if you can't let them know.
And in turn, maybe you have a social situation where you've got a book club or you're meeting friends for drinks one night. Turn that into something active. Talk about the book while you're taking a walk, or instead of going to the bar, go to a pole dancing lesson. You can make those situations moving feasts of fun.
And this really is, it's really about a lifestyle. It's not just about exercise, because if it's just about exercise, you're going to be pretty alone, and you're going to, it's funny, some of you know my husband, he works here, but he, for a while, one of his really good training partners was injured, and he, his really, really good buddy that they trained with all the time, and he couldn't run anymore. And so he was running a lot by himself, and it was really hard. And now, he's got this huge group of guys that he hangs out with, and they all run together, and it's just a completely different story. When you're motivating yourself and you're running every day, and when you're feeling that pull to be with a group of people who have similar values and similar goals, it changes everything. It turns your life into something that has a lot more meaning and a lot more direction.
Yeah, it's not just 30 minutes a day or an hour a day. You're getting your social needs met, you're spending time with your family, and you're sneaking in ways to be more active. That's infinitely more important than just your hour of exercise.
Yeah, and we'll move to the next secret, but I just wanted to say one thing. When I was working here, one thing I did a lot was I would go into my calendar and schedule my lunch hour. So I'd go over to the Y, but if you want to go for a walk, or if you even want to just walk in the hallways, but take your calendar at the beginning of the week and find those days that you want to get a workout in, and block it off. So nobody's going to come in and sort of rain on your parade and take over for you and make it so that you can't get that workout in.
And this is our last secret, which we added after we had started writing the book, because we saw how our kids were feeding off of this, and we realized how important mentoring fitness is. And not just to our kids, but to other people too, because as we talked about, getting started, staying motivated can be hard. And so if you're managing to fit fitness into your life, I guarantee there's some woman out there, just as you have probably watched some other woman who seems to be doing it all, going, how is she doing it all? Some woman is looking at you and thinking the same thing. So it's real important to pay it forward and to support the women around you, and to be that fitness mentor for somebody else, as much as it is for you to find that person that you need when you have issues that might keep you from getting out the door.
Yeah, and even if you think of a personality trait or some trait that you'd like to have, maybe it's being committed, maybe it's whatever part of fitness. It doesn't have to be, I want to run a really fast mile, I want to be a super, super fast runner, I'm my mentor. you might not want the person who runs really fast as a mentor because they might not be able to help you at all. So really look for those personality characteristics that are going to help you, excuse me, move forward in those. I have this picture. I have this, the look on, this is my daughter. She's actually running with my husband at the time. And the look on her face, this picture, every time I look at it, I want to cry because she's really, looking at him, she was running a race with him. And that feeling of looking up to somebody, and we all have that. I mean, even if we're not kids, we all have that with, you all have girl crushes, right? We all have a girl crush on somebody, right? So there's some woman out there that can help you move, forward. So find that person that just makes you feel happy and makes you feel good to be around, and ask her even. It's okay to say, you know what, will you help me work on this? Because if you do that, and if somebody did that for you, you'd feel great, wouldn't you? I mean, who wouldn't want to help somebody? So think about putting yourself out there, being a little more vulnerable, because that's what makes us, I think that's what makes people really, really incredible. So anything else to add? So for those of you who are interested, we do have a website, and we have a little Facebook community, and it's, there's some serious stuff, some funny stuff, but I think some of the latest posts on Facebook are a little,
Do you wear underwear while working out?
yes. So there's some real practical comments. A lot of comments. So practical stuff, but then people have post questions and comments. So if you have any questions, feel free to use that. But also, if anyone has any questions now, or we'd love to have a stump the panel here too. Yeah.
Not a question, but when is a good age for kids to be included in activities like running or a little more strenuous than you're working on?
I think it really depends on the kiddo.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. At what age is a good age for kids to participate with their parents in a little more strenuous
So
activity?
out of the stroller.
Right.
I think Lori and I both have, a lot of times what we've done when they were young like that is when we get done running with them in the stroller, or if we get back and they're at home, take them out around the block.
Yeah, or let them finish because I don't know if your kids are like, if you have a child who wants to get out or whatever, you say, okay, at the end we're going to finish the run together. But in terms of like running a 5K or something like that, if you want to get them into a bigger type of event, more strenuous event, really probably depends on the child and kind of what they're capable of.
But there's so many fun runs and kids races that they'll do a 1K or a half mile, and those are great
Yeah.
ways.
The
to-
1 mile is what I was thinking.
The 1 mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they usually get a medal, and there's tons of kids that do it. And I did the Get Here had I think it was like a 1K or something like that with my daughters in the spring, and it was pouring rain. We got there late. I mean, it was